Okay, Max. So we got the B cell model down. We did selection. We figured out the transitions and how to really make that model great. How about T cells? What if we do the same kind of thing with T cells? Can we select the T cells first?
Yeah, it ends up that with T cells, it's actually easier to select for the cells of interest because they're very well defined peaks. So you'll find that this is actually easier than the B cell situation.
I like easy.
Okay, easy is what we got. We'll click on gemstone, click OK, and like with the B cells, we're going to load in a file that's looking at peripheral blood T cells. Quite a number of events in this file. There's over 1 million, Ben. And you'll note that there's actually also quite a large number of correlated measurements here. So like the B cells, we picked our key selection markers, which are going to be CD3, side scatter. We usually couple scatter with a fluorescent marker. It sort of cleans up the marker. That's what we did with the B cells as an example. And then we'll pick CD4 and CD8.
Okay.
We'll deal with the other markers in the next tutorial.
Okay.
So we come up here with CD3. Here are CD3 positive events right here. We'll go ahead and choose the brightest peak in this case. And when we come into the quick model editor, what we want to do is, although this distribution is adequate, it ends up that with activation, CD3 is down modulated. So we want to just make that line spread a little bit wider than it is there in order to account for changes in the CD3 intensity.
All right.
It's just sort of a wise thing to do. And we're going to do the same thing with CD8 as well. So we come in here, and instead of a line spread of 5, it's 5% of the dynamic range, we're going to pick 10. And so when I do that, you'll note that the standard deviation is just now a little wider to accommodate any changes. So we'll click OK here. We'll come down to light scatter. And in this case, there's not really much for us to do. We'll go ahead and click, just our only choice is a constant profile, since there's only one peak found. And that kind of cleans it up. Now, normally, when we're going through this selection process, we usually, at some point, and this is a good point to do it, we'll hit enrich data so that we have as many T cells that there are in the file. So we'll go ahead and click that. And you'll notice as soon as we do that, the density of dots increases, reflecting the increased number of T cells.
Yep.
All right. Now we come to CD4 and CD8. You can see that CD4 nicely divides up into negative and positive population. In this case, Ben, we're going to be looking at a CD8 positive T cell progression. So we'll choose the dimmest peak for CD4. And then when we roll down here for CD8, it's kind of like the CD3 story. We'll go ahead and click the brightest peak, but again, that's probably a little too narrow because it's going to modulate a little bit. So we'll go into our quick model editor. We'll bump the line spread up to 10% instead of 5%. You can see it's a little bit wider there. And believe it or not, Ben, we're done. We're going to go ahead and save our template. and we'll call this T cell CD8 version 1.
Okay.
And now the only thing we need to do now is program our batch system so it automatically does the analyses. So we'll select these 3 T cells, and what we want to do is move these out to a level that doesn't overlap with the B cells, so
Sure.
we can do either. And so we'll indent this to level 5, and then we'll come in and we'll make sure that it's going to open the template, and then when we come in and look at what template we're going to load in, we'll make sure it's the one we just created. Now the only other thing that I forgot to do is maybe some graphics while we've got it the model at this point.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and create a progression plot right here, and we'll make this a little smaller so it all is visible. And we'll create a few dot plots. CD3 versus side would be
Makes sense.
nice, and then we can look at CD4 versus CD8.
Okay.
And so I'll resave this. That's kind of what happens when you're doing these the modeling. You'll maybe forget something, and then all you do is reload the template in, add whatever graphics you want, and off you go.
Let's give it a try.
It also remembers the scrolling, so I scrolled it back up. And all right, so let's see if it automatically analyzes the first file. Hopefully it will. Okay, and you can see this nice, we're just looking at the CD8 cells, and these dot plots are set up to zoom in right now, Ben.
I see.
We may want to change that a little bit later on so they're not zoomed in, but for now that's okay. Now let's see how it does with the other donor.
Sure. So this is a different patient.
Different patient, same panel and machine though. And again, it's getting the CD8 T cells. CD4 is negative, side scatter lymphocytes, and here are CD3 cells. So now we have a model that allows us to select for CD3 positive, CD4 negative, CD8 positive T cells in peripheral blood.
Perfect.
And then we'll build on that in the later tutorial.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Okay.
Matt.